Hello everyone. Today we are going to read our next chapter, The First Cities. You have read in lesson 2 that early humans generally settled near rivers. So the earliest cities both in India and outside came up near rivers. Can you recall the reasons why people preferred to settle near rivers? Find out. At this time, there were many civilizations flourishing in different parts of the world. Find out their names and the rivers along which they developed. Indus Valley Civilization. In the Indian subcontinent, the first cities came into being in the valley of River Indus. They were Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. Both are now in Pakistan. They were inhabited till about 3500 years ago. Over time, however, they got buried under the ground and were lost and forgotten. In the early 20th century, they were discovered and excavated. Later, many more cities were found. All of them appear to belong to the same culture. Think and answer. How do you think archaeologists and historians conclude whether two cities situated hundreds of kilometers away from each other belong to a common culture or not? Harappa was first excavated by Rai Bahadur Dayaram Sahani in 1921 and Mohenjo-daro by Rakhal Das Banerjee in 1922. Rakhal Das was actually excavating the ruins of a Buddhist temple when he discovered several layers considerably older under the temple. On further excavation, he found a whole city buried underneath. Most of the early cities were found in the valley of the Indus River. That is why archaeologists and historians have named this culture as the Indus Valley Civilization. It is also called the Harappan Civilization as Harappa was the first site to be excavated. The pattern of living in all the sites of the civilization excavated later resembles that of Harappa. The civilization flourished roughly between 2500 to 1500 BCE, that is about 3500 to 4500 years ago. At some places, it extended beyond this time period. Extent. For many years after the discovery of Harappa, Mohenjo-daro and other nearby sites, it was believed that this civilization was limited to a small area near the Indus River. Further excavations showed that it was spread over large parts of present-day Pakistan and the Indian states of Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan and Gujarat. Hundreds of sites belonging to this civilization have been discovered in these places. Some have been excavated and thoroughly researched, while others are still awaiting excavation. Main sites. Harappa and Mohenjo-daro are the most important sites. They are thought to be the twin capitals of the civilization. Other famous ones are Kotdiji, Amri and Chunu-daro, all in Pakistan, Rupar in Punjab, Banawali in Haryana, Alamgirpur in Uttar Pradesh, Kalibangan in Rajasthan and Rangpur, Rosdi, Lothal, Dholavira and Goladharu, all in Gujarat. To do. Find out at least 10 more sites of the Harappan civilization. Cities of the civilization. Most cities were very well planned. The streets cut each other at right angles. In Mohenjo-daro, the main street was over 800 meters long and 10 meters wide. Houses were built on both sides of the street in a planned way. Bagged bricks were used to construct buildings. Most cities, including Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, were divided into two parts. One part was built on raised ground. It is called the Citadel or the Acropolis. It had high walls made of bricks which provided protection during floods. The citadel contained public buildings, religious structures, and granaries. The ruler and the ruling class, consisting of rich merchants and priests, probably lived here. The other part, called the lower town, was at a lower height but much bigger in area. It had small buildings and houses of the common people. The citadel. The ruins of many buildings have been found on the citadel in Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. In Mohenjo-daro, the largest building is the granary. A palace-like building has been discovered. Another building nearby was probably used as meeting hall. Residents of the city might have gathered here to discuss important issues. The most impressive structure of Mohenjo-daro is the Great Bath. It is a rectangular structure and resembles a swimming pool. It is made of baked bricks and has been made watertight with a layer of bitumen or tar. The Great Bath has 2 flights of steps, one on each side. There are rooms on the side for changing clothes. Water was probably drawn from the well and drained out after use. The Great Bath was perhaps used for bathing on special occasions. At Harappa, a number of granaries have been found. Surplus grain was perhaps stored in them. Circular brick platforms have been found near the granaries. They were probably used to thresh grains. Numerous 2-room quarters found near the granaries might have been the houses of laborers. The lower town. Residential buildings have been found in the lower town. The houses were 1 or 2 story high. They were built of baked bricks. Most houses had a courtyard with rooms around it, a bathroom, a kitchen, and a well. Think and answer. How were these houses different from the ones described in lesson 3? The drainage system of the cities was very well planned. The bathrooms had sloping floors and had drains which were connected to the street drains. The kitchen also had drains connected to the main street drains. The street drains ran along the sides of the street. They were covered with bricks and were cleaned from time to time. Occupations and crafts. People followed different occupations. There were farmers, weavers, potters, jewelers, metal workers, toy makers, stone cutters, seal makers, boat makers, masons, and traders. Pottery making had reached an advanced stage. Beautiful reddish glazed pottery with different designs has been discovered from almost all the sites. A large number of seals have also been found. Most of them are made of terracotta and are square or rectangular in shape. They have animal figures and picture-like signs on them. Craftsmen made things of stone, shell, and metal either in their homes or at workshops. They made beads, amulets, weights, and ornaments such as rings, necklaces, bracelets, bangles, and earrings. Terracotta toys, small clay carts, bullock carts, ships, boats, figures of animals, marbles, rattles, dolls, and bird-shaped vessels have also been found at many sites. The discovery of clay spindles suggests that yarn was spun. People wore clothes of cotton and wool. Needles and buttons have been found, which suggests that people stitched clothes. People living in villages grew crops and reared cattle. Wheat and barley were the main crops. Rice, pulses and mustard were also grown. A toy model of a plough has been found. It shows that people used ploughs to farm the land. People in the cities got their food supplies from these farmers. People domesticated cattle, buffaloes, sheep, and goats. These animals were perhaps used for both milk and meat. Trade. The Harappans exported surplus goods and brought it in goods that were in a short supply. Copper, tin, gold, silver, and precious metals were brought from outside, possibly from Mesopotamia, modern Iraq, Persia, modern Iran, Oman, and Afghanistan. Trading links with Mesopotamia have been proved by the discovery of Mesopotamian seals in many Harappan cities and Harappan seals in the cities of ancient Mesopotamia. The overseas trade was perhaps carried on from Lothal, where a dockyard for ships has been found. Script. The Harappan script has been engraved on numerous seals that have been found at all the Indus Valley sites. It is the earliest form of writing discovered in India. The script of the Harappans was pictographic, that is, it had picture-like signs representing words, objects, and ideas. It has not yet been deciphered. Harappan cities in Gujarat. Lothal. Lothal is a coastal site. Like the other sites, it was divided into a citadel and a lower town. A large warehouse has been found which was perhaps used to store goods. Other significant finds include a bead factory containing tools for bead making, semi-finished or finished beads, many Mesopotamian seals, and a brick dockyard connected to the Gulf of Combe by a channel. The dockyard was probably used for berthing ships. The find suggests that Lothal was a port for overseas trade, possibly with Mesopotamia. Dholavira. Dholavira lies in the Khadir Island in the Run of Kutch. It is locally known as Kotada. In terms of size, it is one of the largest Indus settlements in India and the fifth largest of the sites that have been discovered so far. It is famous for its magnificent town planning. Excavation first began here in 1990 and are still on. Dholavira was different from the other Indus cities in that it was divided into not two but three parts: a citadel, a middle town, and a lower town. Each part was enclosed by a stone wall. Many graves have been found here. The excavated graves contain pottery and jewelry. Dholavira is famous for another thing. Perhaps the oldest signboard in the world containing 10 large-size signs of the Harappan script has been found here. This is unique because all other samples of Harappan writings are available only on seals. Think and answer. What do you think was written on the signboard? Goladharu. Goladharu is a recently excavated site in the Kutch region. Excavated articles suggest articles of shell and copper were produced here. Many finished and unfinished shell bangles have been found here. A unique seal has also been found. It is shaped like a box and is hollow. Decline. About 3,500 years ago, there was a big change in the life of the Harappan people. The number of people living in cities became less. Overseas trade stopped. Instead of baked bricks, sun-dried bricks began to be used for construction. The houses became less impressive. In Mohenjo-daro, the drains were choked and garbage got piled up on the streets. We do not know why this was happening, but something was wrong. A general decline had perhaps begun. but specific causes must have differed from city to city. There may have been natural disasters such as earthquakes, floods, epidemics, or a change in the course of river Indus. Whatever the reason, archaeological evidences suggest that people abandoned the cities and moved to smaller settlements. So this was our chapter, the first cities. If you want links to other chapters, you can find them in the description box below. Thank you everyone.